Hello. Hello. Good morning.
Good morning.
Okay. So, as an answer to your first question, well, good morning, everybody who might eventually start watching our live on YouTube. So, the first thing I want to tell you, Tatiana, is that the way I'm doing is like this. We're going to use Google Meet, and I've already configured my software here so that whatever we do here in Google Meet is streamed on YouTube.
Okay.
Okay, so
Okay.
and apparently everything is working because I've got the studio here open and we we've been online for what 30 few seconds. Yeah, I think everything is okay. I don't know if there is a timer for this thing anyway. Okay, so how are you?
Yeah, I'm fine. I'm okay. How about you?
I'm fine too, thank you. So I was thinking about a subject that would be interesting to people watching us and particularly interesting to you because I remember some time ago one day we were having a conversation and you complained about phrasal verbs in English,
Yeah.
right? So I thought, well, why not have a class about phrasal verbs and show you, especially because of the kind of student that you are, that phrasal verbs are no big deal. It's not a big deal. But maybe you feel that they are a bit intimidating, like, oh my God, phrasal verbs. And so,
That's it. It seems
yeah,
to be
yeah.
a big deal.
Okay. So, so then I thought about a few phrasal verbs. I mean, we can explore as many as we can in this 1 hour that we're going to be together.
Okay.
And but I was thinking of also teaching you a technique to save them, to store this information, and to reuse it later. Okay,
Yes.
so um, let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so first of all, I'm going to share with you. In fact, I've got a folder for you where I've been saving. Actually, I think I've got a folder for you. Wait a second. Let me just confirm that. Okay. Tatiana.
Later on, I will show you my phrasal verbs box that I've carried with me
Yeah.
for over I don't know how many years. No, now
Mm.
you can help me to solve that issue
Ah,
in my life that are the
yeah.
phrasal verbs.
Okay. I have a folder for you here. But Tatiana Pascale. Okay. Right. It's where I saved the cover letter. Okay. So we're going to create a new document here, and it's going to be a mind map. Okay. So I think that with you, I've only mentioned mind maps, but we haven't actually used one yet, you and I, right?
No, we didn't.
Okay.
Not yet.
Okay. But we are going to. I'm going to start today. Okay. So I'm going to call. Well, by the way, let me go ahead and share my screen with you so that you can follow the process from the very beginning. Okay. Oh, here we go. Can you see the map?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So this is going to be our phrasal verbs
Phrasal
verbs map.
map.
And this is going to be dedicated to you, Tatiana. Okay, right. So, Tatiana, before I continue, before I advance any further, tell me something. Have I ever told you anything about mind maps?
Not yet.
Not
Not yet.
yet. Okay, good. And in your experience as a student, as an architect, as a researcher, Have you ever used mind maps? Have you ever heard of them? Do you know what they are like? I mean,
No, actually, I didn't, and that's I had not, and that's
ah,
curious
uh-huh. Mm-hmm.
because I've learned too many languages,
Mm,
including German and Danish, but no,
no.
I've
Okay.
never used
Right. Okay. So,
this tool.
mind map is a tool. Okay. I don't know who invented it. I don't know who created it. And nowadays it's a tool and a concept. It's a concept of organizing information. Okay. And basically speaking, I mean, I'm going to use the definition that I got from a TED talk. Okay. Once there was a professor there talking about the way mind maps helped her because she was a professor. Yeah, she was a university professor who had like 4 degrees, you know, in different areas, and even a PhD. So you start with a central idea. Okay, so you can do this on a piece of paper, but nowadays, with the latest developments in the digital world, you have apps. You have apps on smartphones, tablets, but mainly on the web. So the one that I use is it's an extension. Yeah, I suppose we can call it. No, no, no. It's not an extension. It's an app which is
Yeah.
integrated with Google Drive. Let's call it like that. It's
Oh.
okay. So you can
Mm-hmm.
get your Google account, open your Google Drive, and then connect this app to your account and start using it. Okay, so it's got a free
Nice.
version, and then later, if you want to have more resources from the tool, you can pay for it. Okay, but the free version is it's complete. I mean, it's good enough for me. The only problem with the free version, as far as I remember, is that you make a map and then you save it,
Mm-hmm.
but they only save your map for 6 months. After 6 months, you
Oh,
lose it. So if you start using it and you learn that it's going to be a very useful and powerful tool to you, then it might be a good idea to contract their paid version, because that way.
is this a dynamic tool that you usually you change it, or once you've done it, it stays like this? Because
Well,
then you can print it, just do
yeah,
a
that's
thing.
true. That's right. You can print, and I think there's also an option for you to download in a PDF format. It's like
Okay.
it breaks up the map into slides. I don't know if it works too well though. Okay, but it's an option. But like I
Okay.
said, the idea is play with it, learn how to use. Then if you think it's a good tool for you, then you think about whether or not you're gonna buy it or not. Okay.
Nice tip. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so anyway, so as I was saying earlier, you start with a central idea, okay, and then like imagine a circle, okay. So you start in the center with a central idea, and then you move radially, okay, connecting nodes to the central idea, and then from each node you create outer nodes with ideas that are connected to them. We can do that with, I use it a lot to report stories. So, for example, I show my students a piece of a film, and then we construct a map so that the students can remember all the key elements in the story and connect the characters and so on. Okay? But
Okay.
but in your case, we're gonna start. It's funny because normally I start with films, so with you it's gonna be different. We haven't used it for reporting a story yet. We're gonna use this map to organize phrasal verbs. Okay. So for example, you said you have a box, right?
Yeah.
You have a box
Mm-hmm.
with phrasal verbs. Okay. So what do you think is a good way of organizing phrasal verbs?
Oh my God. I don't know. By By that, the words that are similar, maybe.
Because you see, the thing is,
Yeah.
sometimes people accused me of being addicted to mapping out ideas, and maybe I am, because actually every time I do something nowadays, I always think, oh, I can use the map for this, and you know, I learned how to organize projects, ideas, things that I want to study, you name it, right? Okay, so what I'm gonna suggest to you we do is something like this. So back to the map that I'm sharing with you, okay? So look, we start with the central idea. Phrasal verbs map, Tatiana. Okay, so then I think the next step would be for us to organize this alphabetically, okay? So we create one node for each letter in the alphabet.
It's a way to start.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. A, B, C, D, and so on. Okay. And then I'm not sure if there is a phrasal verb for every letter, because, for example, right now I'm trying to remember one for the letter A, and I can't remember, but I'm sure there must be. Okay. But I'm not gonna worry about that. Okay, I'm gonna start with the ones that I remember. So let's pick up the letter B, for instance. Okay, so off the top of your head, okay, just try to think. Can you give me a verb in English that starts with the letter B?
A verb.
Yeah, just think of a verb.
Oh my God, with B.
The verb to be.
Oh yeah, to be. Okay.
Right. Okay, so here we go. So in the B node, we're gonna add a child node that we should call it, okay, a child node. And the first verb is the verb to be, okay?
Okay.
Can you think of a phrasal verb with the verb to be?
No, actually no.
Okay,
I'm not.
so that's it. You leave the verb to be there and you do nothing with it, right? Okay. Right. So now I'm going to make a suggestion. The verb to break. Okay?
Break. Now I can remember one.
Well,
break.
because
Actually, I'm not sure if they are phrasal verbs. That's the point. But
okay.
let's try.
Right. So you see. So now we have a verb. The verb to break. Okay? And then we can start thinking of phrasal verbs that exist with this verb. And then what do you think should be the next step?
To find a phrasal verb with the word break. The verb.
Yeah.
So
does anything come to your mind?
Break out, break up, break.
Ah, great. Okay, so I'm just gonna rearrange things here just to make it easier for us to type in. Okay, so the first one was break what? Break out.
Out. Yeah.
Break out.
Break out.
Break out. Okay, great. There you go. So you see, then what I suggest we do is this. The next node is the preposition. Because, you know, the phrasal verbs is exactly about that. It's about combining a verb with a preposition.
Verb. Okay.
Okay? And then another one that we could think about is the verb to break up.
Break up, break out.
Okay. And then at this point, right, we're almost done. I mean, as far as building the map goes, right? Then we're going to do the same thing for other letters. But so the next step is to think of the verb, the phrasal verb itself, and its meaning. So the last node could be something like this. Ah, okay, so there is a phrasal verb. Break up. But the question is, what does it mean?
Break up.
Do you remember what it means?
To break up, to break out. No, then I make confusion.
Well,
in both, then
one of the possible meanings for the verb to break up is to end a relationship.
Let's
Okay?
break up.
Okay? Is to end a relationship, usually a romantic one. Okay? But you see, the thing about phrasal verbs is that you have to be careful because sometimes there's more than one meaning for one phrasal verb. Okay, I'm gonna think of some examples for that later. But for now, I want you to get a sense of how we organize information here. So you start alphabetically, okay, and then for each letter in the alphabet, you think of the verbs that start with that letter, and then the prepositions that you can combine with them to form a phrasal verb, and then the phrasal verb itself, and then the meaning.
Meaning.
And,
Okay.
and then one last step, okay, would be for you to create an example sentence.
Okay.
Okay, and an example sentence could be something like this. I broke up with my first boyfriend. Okay, I broke up with my first boyfriend because he what? Do you remember why you broke up with your first boyfriend? I have a student.
I don't know, because he was, let's just joke, because he was so, like a child. How do you say it?
Okay. Right, because he was so immature.
Immature. Yeah, the first one.
Okay. Good. There you go. Let me just check the spelling for this word here. I have a bit of a doubt here. Let me just check to see if I'm spelling, because maybe there's a double M there. I'm not sure. Immature. Let's see. Yeah, it's double M. Okay. So back to our map. Okay, because he was immature. Okay? So think about this, Tatiana. Let's see how you can use this map later as a study material. Okay? So this is your map, right? And you know that that this map contains information about phrasal verbs. And you know that the map is organized alphabetically. And let's say that we had started constructing this map, and then 1 or 2 weeks later you go, oh, I remember that a couple of weeks ago Alfredo told me something about a verb that started with the letter B, but I'm not sure what the verb was. So you come here and then you open the letter B. Oh yes, we talked about the verb to be and the verb to break, but for the verb to be we couldn't find any phrasal verb, so we just wrote the verb to be there. Okay, it was about the verb to break. Okay, and then I remember that I suggested break out, but we didn't think of an example, and then Alfredo suggested break up, and then we studied this phrasal verb, you know. And so break up is the phrasal verb in question. It means, one of its possible meanings is to end a relationship, and an example would be something like this: I broke up with my first boyfriend because he was very immature. And that's it. So
Nice.
what do you think of this study strategy here? Do you think it might work?
Yeah, it's easier to memorize and to do consultations. That's perfect. That's really good. Really
Okay.
good too.
Okay, so this class is supposed to be about that. It's supposed to be
Okay.
about phrasal verbs. Okay, so I didn't I had this idea actually for this topic on my way here today. So which means that I didn't make a specific list of the most important phrasal verbs, okay? But I remember quite a few. So what I'm going to do is this: as we go along, I'm going to add them to the map, okay? So the next one is going to be, so for the letter C, okay? We have lots of verbs. We have like verbs like the verb to come. Okay. We have verbs like the verb to clear. All of these verbs they start with the letter C. Okay.
Close.
Close.
Do we have
Yeah, close. Okay. But I'm gonna give you this one now. The verb to carry.
carry? Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, and why I thought about this verb? Well, because in scientific articles, when I get scientific articles from students, doing their PhD and things like that, they talk about study, they talk about research, okay? And a research is something that normally they carry out, to carry out research, okay? And what does that mean? What does it mean to carry out research? Just like we did here with the verb to be, with the verb to break, okay, for break up. So we create a phrasal verb and then we explore meaning, right? So then, okay, the phrasal verb is to carry out. And then the meaning means to execute. Okay? So then an example sentence for this could be something like this. In scientific articles, you see this a lot. So this study was carried out to examine the impact of working from home, okay, of working remotely from home, okay, from home. So this study was carried out to examine the impact of working remotely from home during the pandemic, during the COVID-19 pandemic. Okay?
Okay.
So, as I said, we start with the letter, the alphabet letter, so that we can organize this alphabetically, right? And I think that the beauty of this, Tatiana, because like you said, is this a dynamic tool? Is this a tool that you adjust, adapt, and change from time to time? Yes, because you see, for example, today, suppose I don't have much time to finish, because I mean I can't finish the map today. There are thousands of phrasal verbs. I've only started, but I could save the map now, which is what I'm doing. I'm saving it, and I'm saving it into your folder, right? I'm just gonna go ahead and make sure that this map is there in your folder. 1 second. Here I'm gonna put this map there. And now, as you can see, this map, phrasal verbs map for Tatiana, is here inside your folder. Okay?
Okay.
The folder that I share with you in Google Drive. Well, then, look, I could collapse all these trees here. And this is the map. When I open it in a few days, it will be exactly like this. And then I can continue my work. So let's suppose that in a couple of days I learn that there is another possible combination for the verb to carry. Okay? And it's with the preposition on.
On.
Okay? Carry on.
To carry on.
What do you think that means? To carry on.
Carry on. I'm not sure. To continue? No.
Exactly. To continue.
Continue.
Right? So imagine that, for example, you're doing a presentation for a client, right? As an architect, suppose you're making a presentation, okay? And then, I don't know, your client interrupts you to ask a few questions. And then in order to answer those questions, you have to interrupt your presentation. But then at some point he might turn to you and say, "Ah, okay, that's it. That's all I needed to ask. Please carry on.
Continue.
Please carry on with your presentation." Okay?
Nice.
Right. Okay. So, letter G. Can you think of
Go, of course. First one.
okay. Right. So, go. Um can you think
Go
of
on is also continue, no?
great, yes, that's it. Go on. So then we have the phrasal verb to go on, which also means to continue. Can you give me an example of a sentence using this?
Yeah. You can go on with your work.
Uh-huh.
I'm not boring you, bore you anymore. Something like this.
Ah, okay. Suppose you interrupted me
Yeah.
and I had to stop to, I don't know, to pay attention to what you were saying, and then you might instruct me. Okay, go on. Go on with your work. Continue, right?
Yeah.
Uh-huh. Okay.
But
Uh,
is there some subtle difference between carry on and go on?
no, that's a good question. Well, you see, yes, there is, but it's got to do with context. Let me try to think of an example in which you would use one or the other. Carry on.
Carry on, go on. Go on seems to have to do with some activity, and carry on, no, nothing. You know,
You know,
action and activity or something like that.
no. I think that generally speaking, they're interchangeable. I think they're interchangeable, but I would guess that perhaps go on and it's more often used when there's movement involved.
Movement, action, yeah.
Yeah. So for example, suppose you're a tour guide, and I don't know, you're leading a group inside a museum and so on, and then you stop for a break or something like this, and then once the break is over, you direct them to another section of the museum and
Let's
say,
go on.
"Okay, guys, let's go on with this tour." So in other words, let's continue with the tour. Whereas carry on, I think it's more to do with like a project or a task. You're doing something, and then you continue that task, usually a
Perfect.
mental task or something like that. But like I said, I think that they are used interchangeably, in a lot of ways, very often. Okay, right. So before I make any other suggestions, because I have got a few phrasal verbs in my mind, is there any phrasal verb in your mind that you would like to add to the map? Does anything come to your mind?
Actually, don't, because no, I was not so aware of that subject. No, so I didn't prepare nothing.
Okay, no problem. But look, as I construct the map, if you remember, any verbs that you find interesting, please feel free to let me know.
Okay.
Right.
Perfect.
Okay. So let me just put an example here. Um, sometimes I'm gonna use an example of this phrasal verb, um, using this phrasal verb in the past. Okay, so suppose that I had a very difficult conversation with my brother last night because he got divorced, and now he's very depressed depressed because of his divorce. Okay, so he was on the phone with me for, I don't know, 45 minutes, and he went on and on about
When?
the end of his marriage.
Go on, went on. Ah,
Yes.
that's good.
So he went on and on about the end of his marriage, which means that he started a conversation about the end of his marriage, but he couldn't stop talking about that. So he went on, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15
About.
minutes. So he went on and on about the end of his marriage. In other words, he couldn't stop talking about it. He kept going. He kept, he continued talking about the end of his marriage. Okay? Is that okay?
Perfect. Actually, yeah, I could not construct the sentence with my knowledge, but that's curious. He went on and on about the end of his marriage. Went on and on about. For me, it's missing something like about the subject.
But the subject is the end of his marriage.
Yeah, it's implicit, but yeah.
Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Right. So when I thought about the letter G, it's because I was going to add here a classic, which is with the verb to give. Can you think of a phrasal verb with the verb to give?
Give up.
Give up. Okay. So, and what does this phrasal verb mean? What does it mean to give up?
To give up is in English.
Yes, in English.
Give up.
Well, to give up means to quit.
Quit.
Okay.
Yeah.
You can also use this verb here, the verb to abandon. Like you abandon an activity or a project or an idea or a job. Okay? So to give up, giving something up means quitting.
Quitting something.
Okay? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yes.
This one is pretty used, so we know the the meaning.
We know the meaning, right? So an example like this could be, I don't know, for example.
At the past,
Can you think of an example? Can you think of one?
and the problem is the preposition that comes after. I gave up from my last job.
No, actually, you don't need a preposition. Okay.
My last job.
Yeah, I gave up my last job. I gave up my last job because whatever. Okay, but for example, because I didn't like my boss, for instance. I didn't like my boss. I gave up. I quit. Okay.
So we never use another preposition. It's just give up something.
Yeah, you give up something, or you give, and depending on the context, you can also say you give something up.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. It's also possible to put the complement in the middle. Okay, so look, as you can imagine, there are hundreds of possibilities here, okay? Because for instance, if we add a verb like the verb to get, okay, we're gonna have combinations like get on, get off,
Yeah, get is
get into,
get in.
and lots of other possible combinations of prepositions. And sometimes, depending on how you combine them, these prepositions, they're not actually prepositions, they're also adverbs, okay? But we're not gonna go too deep in that concept right now. We're just gonna think of them as prepositions for now, okay? Okay, but so as I said, look, I think the beauty of the map is that it's a dynamic process, you know. So for instance, today you could say, okay, enough of examples with the letter G. I would like to explore other letters or other verbs. Okay. So for example, today I wanted to introduce you to this verb here. Okay, with the letter S.
Let me just ask you something. It is because the meaning for me is more important. Or I do relations with meanings, and I don't know how to explain. But for example, if you use a word that the preposition that goes after the verb, like north, like the main point to analyze the verbs. So, for example, carry on, go on, get on, give on. It will be confusing, or it will be another way to analyze the phrasal verbs that maybe can facilitate the process of memorizing and understanding it.
Well, you see, when I thought about preparing this material for this class, I mean, when I had this idea for this class, I thought that you would be the perfect student for us to explore this. And the reason I had this feeling, it's because you're very good at paying attention to the context and extracting meaning from it. Okay.
Yeah.
Because you see, the mistake that most people make is to look at the two words together and say, "Oh my God," but
they got stuck.
How am I ever gonna memorize this? Okay. Well, for example, you see, I started this class and I thought, "Oh, I don't have a verb for letter A," but I'm sure that there is. There is a verb and a phrasal verb. I just don't remember one right now. Okay? But because I'm trying to think of examples, right, of cool phrasal verbs, right, and the way you extract meaning from them, that it came to my mind. And so I'm going to add to the map right now. Okay, so for the letter A, for example, exactly. Add. Okay? And I just remembered an example from a film in which you combine this with the preposition up, and the phrasal verb is add up. And then I'm going to put this in the right context, right? So that we can explore this. Add up. So what does that mean? We're going to go back to that in a minute. But I want you to think about one phrasal verb, and instead of giving you the phrasal verb first, I'm going to give you the context. Okay? And then the character is going to use the phrasal verb, and you are going to work out the meaning. Okay? Right.
Okay,
so
let's try.
Let's think about sports. Okay? Let's think about, do you have a favorite sport? Do you have, for instance, a favorite team sport?
Sorry, don't.
No? Okay. So here's the situation. I'm going to use my son as an example, okay? So I have a 15-year-old son. His name is Pedro, and he plays volleyball. Okay, he likes volleyball very much. Okay, and you know how teams play, right? You have a number of players that are on the court, they're playing, and you have like 5 or 6 players on the bench.
Okay.
And they have to be there, right? To replace, to substitute if a player gets hurt. Or if one player is not doing well. So the coach, right, has extra players, because if they start a match and a few players are not playing well, he can try other players. So that's the idea, right?
Okay.
In some sports, for example, like soccer, normally the coach doesn't use the players on the bench very much, because the players that have been playing more regularly, right? They're normally they normally play the two halves. You know, they're only replaced if somebody gets hurt, or for instance,
Yeah.
if one of them gets one of those yellow cards, you know, and because of that, to save them for the future game, the coach comes in and replaces them. Okay, but in volleyball it's different because
More dynamic.
yeah, it's more dynamic. The coach uses most of the players all the time. So anyway, imagine a situation like this, that my son is one of the best players in the team. Okay, suppose he's one of the best players in the team, and recently I don't know, maybe 2 weeks ago, he was injured in one match. He hurt his knee. And then he went to a doctor. The doctor examined him and told him that he would have to be very careful and do some kind of physiotherapy to recover from his injury, right? But he likes playing. He's addicted to playing. And he has been coming to court and he's been attending all the matches. So next week, there's going to be a final game. And his team is going to be in the finals. So in other words, they could be the champion of this last championship. So the coach is thinking about a strategy because Pedro is very important. It's a very important player, but he's hurt. Okay? And Pedro wants to play. But his coach is worried about the next game, and he's worried about Pedro making a full recovery so that he can play well. And Pedro wants to play today. Okay, so imagine that we have a game this Sunday and another one next Sunday. And Pedro is there, very excited. He keeps calling the coach and say, "Coach, I want to play, I want to play." And then the coach comes and says, "Hey, Pedro, listen, take it easy. I really need you to sit this one out. I want you to sit this one
with
out."
one out.
Yeah. Oh, so let me write this on the map, okay? So we're gonna add the verb to sit. Okay. We're gonna add the preposition out. The phrasal verb becomes sit out. Of course, there is a complement in the middle, which is the match, the game, and the coach. Well, actually, I'm gonna put the meaning here later, but the coach says something like this: "Listen, I need you to sit this one out." What's your interpretation?
Sit out. Sit is just sit sometimes, but sit out is something like to stay out of that game.
Yeah. Okay. So there you go. You see what I'm talking about? Did you need a dictionary for this? This is a phrasal verb.
No, the context is explaining it.
Yes, you just explored the context. Okay? So then you might ask yourself, okay, Alfredo, but then when will I know when I can use this? Well, in similar situations. So right now, if you ask me, I would say, well, you should apply this to sports and sports only. Okay?
No,
wait.
Yeah?
No, wait. Right. Because you see, if I'm a student and if I'm learning this, my initial attitude would be, okay, I know that I can use this in sports. So I'm not going to go crazy and think, oh, but I can use this in the kitchen as well.
I thought more about teams or groups. To sit out of a group, to sit out of a class or something like that.
Yes, exactly. That's brilliant. But be careful. Because you see, as a student, my first approach would be this. Okay, I know I can use this in sports. So for example, if I'm playing soccer or basketball or volleyball, I'm going to apply this, okay? But then later on, when I gain more experience and I feel more comfortable with this, I might attempt to use in another situation, but more metaphorically. For example, suppose that you and I, we work together as architects, okay? And every Friday we have a meeting. All the architects together to talk about all the projects that we're involved and so on, okay? So next week, we're going to have a very special meeting. The president of the company, because we work at a regional office. We have an office, but this is it's just one of the many offices that this company have. But next week, the president of the company is coming to have a meeting with us. And there is a problem with this guy. He doesn't like women architects. Okay?
Oh, please. Come on.
And you are terrible because you talk too much. Every meeting, you talk too much. So we're colleagues, right? And I'm organizing the meeting. And then I come to you and say, hey, Tatiana, I'm sorry, but I really need to ask you a favor. Please, you're going to have to sit this one out.
Sit this one out. You can say sit out this meeting.
No. You reorganize things like this. I need you to do me a favor. Okay, you're gonna have to sit this one out. In other words, you're gonna have to sit this meeting out, which means you're gonna refrain from participating. You are not going to participate.
Oh, he lost the best ideas.
Of course.
Poor guy.
Maybe this was a terrible example, but do you understand what I'm suggesting? Because you see, maybe you're the best architect in the company, but the problem is that you're polemic. You see, you are a polemic person. You always hit up the meetings with polemic ideas. In this time, we're gonna have a meeting with the president. The president is a very formal guy. It's not gonna be a good idea.
So in this case of phrasal verb, the complement, I don't know how to call it, is in the middle of the phrasal verb. Every time, or because you said sit this one out, sit this meeting out. You can say it. Can we?
Yes. Sit this meeting out. Yes, but so did you understand my suggestion? Look, because when we had our first conversation about phrasal verbs, you said to me, oh, Fred, the phrasal verbs, they're so complicated. Oh my God, I'll never learn them and so on. And what I'm trying to say with this example is that your English is at such a good level that you don't have to worry about phrasal verbs. You just have to pay attention to context and extract meaning from there.
Okay. So, yeah. But to memorize it takes a time.
Yeah. Okay. So, we are approaching the end of our class. Okay, I'm just gonna add one letter here, letter R, because next time we open this map, I'm going to talk to you about the verb to reach. And we're going to combine it with the preposition out. And then we're going to discuss the meaning of this phrasal verb here, to reach out. Okay, to reach out.
In our last class, you were talking about some I don't remember the phrasal verb, but like in this case, to reach and to reach out. Is there a difference? Can I just say to reach something? uh, intending to do the meaning of reach out, you know?
Okay. Yeah. So but let me tell you something about this. What you're going through at the moment, it's something that every person that I have ever known who has learned this language, they go through this phase. Okay. It's like it's a time when we kind of rebel against the language. And we
Okay.
do that by asking this question: why the hell do I need the preposition? I mean, isn't the verb enough? You know, like because Americans use phrasal verbs a lot. There's always a preposition combined with the verb. And then, for instance, suppose that I'm making a fruit salad, and then I peel the banana, and then I have to cut it up. And
Cut
then,
it up.
yeah, and then you go, but why do I need the
Cut it.
preposition
Yeah.
up? I'm just gonna
That's the
cut the
point.
banana. Well, so let's use this as an example. You see,
Yeah,
look,
that's it.
this is the banana, right? If you say, okay, cut the banana, that's it. I've cut it.
Uh-huh.
But if you say cut it up, it means that you're going to cut it all the way through into smaller pieces. This is cut up. To cut
Ah,
is to
okay.
perform this action. The
One
action to
time.
cut is to do this. Suppose you have scissors. If you do this once, this is cut. But that's not what you want. What you want is this.
In slices.
Yeah.
So,
So do you understand what I mean? So you start making sense of it. You start that's why the prepositions are important.
okay. Yeah, to let the language more fluid, actually.
And then, of course, there
Their
are,
way.
yeah. And then, of course, I agree that there are situations in which you have two words that separately means completely different. For example, the verb to give. Oh, give me the pencil. Oh, there you go. Here's the pencil. You can give the person the pencil. But where do you get the idea that when you combine give with the preposition up, it means to quit? It doesn't make
Completely different.
sense. To me, it doesn't make any sense. But then, again, don't rebel against the language. The language is what it is. So if give up means to quit, just accept it.
Yeah.
Okay?
Okay, perfect.
Right. And so the verb to reach out, right? It's because, for example, I'm sitting right here in this room, okay? And above my head, there's the ceiling. And on the ceiling, I have a lamp. Okay, so let's suppose that that lamp burns out and I need to replace it. See, if I stretch my arms, right?
Cannot reach out.
I'm trying to reach the lamp, but I
Okay.
can't. Okay?
Uh-huh.
Right.
Uh-huh.
So that's the meaning of the verb to reach. Now,
Reach.
reach out, next class. But like I did with sit out, before I give you the phrasal verb, I'm going to give you a context. And then I'm
Okay.
going to put the phrasal verb, and then we're going to explore the meaning. Okay?
And do you think that's better to memorize it? To get the meaning first?
Well, you see,
Maybe?
the way I see phrasal verbs, um, well, let's try to use something from the article we were studying last class. Remember when we saw that? Oh, this is the designer's way of.
Yeah.
Remember that example?
Responding, yeah.
Yeah?
With it.
The designer's way. Okay. So for me, it's like this. Let's think about the best way, right? So this is, in my opinion, the best way if we think about a student's way of acquiring this knowledge. Okay, we're thinking about a regular student, okay, any student, a student's way of acquiring this knowledge. Because, for example, today I presented it to you. I showed you. lots of phrasal verbs.
Yeah.
And you understood. But the thing is this vocabulary, is it yours? Probably you're going to say, well, not yet. Because you see,
Yeah.
you were exposed to it, you understood, but have you actually really acquired it? I don't think so. I don't think you have acquired that knowledge yet. So what's the next step? Well, the next step is for you to think of real life situations in which you can apply them.
Perfect.
You
Yeah.
see, for example, when we think about a phrasal verb like to give up, that phrasal verb is totally yours. It's part of your vocabulary. Because when you gave me an example, you did that with confidence.
Yeah.
You said, oh, I gave up my job. The same thing about breakup. Well, I broke up with my first boyfriend because he was very immature. You don't have a problem with those, okay? But sit this one out, like this game out or this meeting out or something like that, is something that you're still learning. I mean, you're still... So for me, what is the best way to really acquire this? Is to think of meaningful situations in which you can use, and then use them, write them down, verbalize them, say them out loud.
Yeah.
When you do that, then they become part of your vocabulary. Because if you stay there in the comfort zone saying, oh, I got it, I understood the combination of
Not really.
verb and preposition, I understood the meaning, I understood the example Alfredo suggested, I got the message, oh, that's it, great, that's enough. No, that's not enough. Because that kind of knowledge is very, in my opinion, it's very volatile. It's going to evaporate very easily.
Perfect, teacher.
Okay, dear, thank you very much for
Thank
joining
you.
me for this live session today.
Thank you.
I'll see you tomorrow.
See you.
Right, so remember this map that I've just started constructing here with you is in your folder, it's yours.
Nice.
Yeah, the only problem is
Use it.
because we have a free account, right? It's going to be there for 6 months. But I have an idea. I think we can trick the system. Look, if you make a map, right? And every 3 months you make a copy of it. And you expand the as long as you keep making a copy of it, I guess you're fine. Because then you change the name. It's going to keep your map for another 6 months. I think it might work. Okay, dear. Have a great day. See you tomorrow.
You too.
Thanks
See
again.
you. Bye.
Bye. Okay, guys. So this was our live for today. So we had this online lesson with Tatiana. Tatiana is my student in Denmark. And today I had this idea to dedicate a lesson to phrasal verbs and using the mind map, using a mind map to store that information. So that way, every time I learn a new phrasal verb, I can come here. So this is my mind map, right? So every time I have an idea, or actually I learn a new phrasal verb, I can add to my map. So for instance, today, I'm just going to add here so that I don't forget. Because next class, for example, I want to teach Tatiana the meaning of this verb here, the verb to sneak. Okay? And we're going to combine that with prepositions like sneak out, or for example, sneak in. And then we're going to explore the meaning, and we're going to think of an example sentence. Okay. And that's it. That was today's lesson. I hope you had some fun. I hope you've enjoyed it. I'll see you in our next video lesson.